Hey everyone, so I am finally doing it. I am finally doing Peyton's birth story. Her birthday was in September. It's January. Mama got busy. I don't know. So, if you're new here, I have been trying to do a birth story of each child around their birthday. We have summer birthdays that just roll through. We have 5 summer birthdays. Anyways, Miley's birthday's coming up. It's this Friday. And so I was like, oh, I need to do her birth story. And then I remembered I never did Peyton. So sorry, Peyton. I do love you very much. And I'm sorry that I'm late with your birth story. So, anyways, Peyton is our third daughter. She turned 10 this year. And it just, every mom knows, like it just goes by so fast. So, anyways, Peyton is a super sweet girl. She is very, very motherly in a natural way. Like she always finds something to do with Reagan and Harper, and she'll even say that, can I just go play with Reagan and Harper? Like after she's done with school or whatever. Anyways, she's just super sweet, especially with the little ones. So, anyways, Peyton is our third daughter. We had our first 3 kids within 26 months. You heard that right. Our oldest was 26 months, and then 13 months, and then I had a newborn. So we had them boom, boom, boom. We were overjoyed to find out that we were having another girl because we thought that it would be fun since they were so close in age, and we obviously had everything. So I think I was due, her birthday September 4th. I was due September 7th, I believe. Taylor had come a week late. Addison came 1 day late. So I was kind of expecting, to make it pretty close to my due date. My mom just knew that she was going to come early. We were actually living in Georgia at the time. And my mom we live in Florida now. My mom lives in Florida. And anytime I was talking to her on the phone, she was like, you just sound so, like towards the end of my pregnancy, you sound so winded. You sound so tired. Like, this baby's just gonna come early. I just know it. So she was planning on coming in town to help us, and so she decided to come in town early. And I was like, Mom, I don't know, like maybe you should wait because I really need your help for whenever I'm in the hospital, with watching the older, or no, they're my older girls now, with watching Taylor and Addison. And she's like, no, that baby's just gonna come early. I know it. So Mama came in town and Mama was wrong. And I was getting so anxious. I was just like, oh my goodness, like, Mom, I don't know what to do. This baby's not coming. And she was only going to stay for a week. A week came and left. Well, she decided to still stay because I obviously hadn't had the baby, but I was feeling all this pressure is what I'm getting at. By no means was my mom putting that pressure on me. I just felt that pressure. So I was 39 weeks and I went to my normal midwife appointment, and my midwife had said, well, I can strip your membranes. And I was like, okay, what all does that entail? Because I had not had that happen before. And she explained it to me, and we decided to go ahead and do it. And my mom was there. She was like, Jessica, don't do this just because of me. I'll stay as long as I need to. Just, I was like, well, I think let's just get the show on the road, So the midwife stripped my membranes, but it did not do anything. And it wasn't, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't, quote, painful. So a couple days, I think I made it to my next appointment. I don't remember if I called or if I had another appointment. I think I had another appointment. Well, I saw another midwife in the office, and I told her, what the other midwife did. And she was like, well, do you want to strip your membrane? She was like, she said, if I strip your membrane, you're going to go into labor. I was like, what? Like, I thought I just had this done. So I was like, okay. Never again. And I have never done it again. And in case you're new here, I'm pregnant with number 9. And that was number 3. Not for me. It was so, not the actual, like, process. Like, it was so painful. I was in so much pain. I'm so sorry. And I've had 7 natural births. That was painful. So anyways, my mom watched the kids for that appointment, and we just went home. or I was by myself. I was driving home, and I just remember breathing so heavily on the way home. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like I don't feel good. I felt nauseous. I felt crampy. I did not feel right. I came home and I just laid on the couch. And about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my husband called me and I was like, I think something might be starting. And I told him, everything that happened. And he was like, okay, like, what do you mean something might be starting? I was like, I think you need to come home. And I just was so crampy, but it was so up high, like on my belly, not menstrual crampy, like how it normally kind of starts. So I called my midwife and told her, and she's like, no, I told you you'd go into labor. And I was just like, okay. So Nathan like zoomed home. He wasn't even home like 30 minutes, and he had me in that car. He was so scared I was going to have that baby on the side of the road. And I wasn't like actively contracting or anything. Anyways, he was just scared I was going to have, he's always scared I'm going to have a baby on the side of the road. So he loaded me up in the hospital 7 miles from our house, okay? Like now I don't even know how far we are. We're like 35, 40 minutes from the hospital. I'm pregnant with number 9. Like, anyways, it's just funny. So he loaded me up. We got to that hospital. I was in labor. And it was a very intense labor. My first 2, I had all natural, no drugs, no interventions or anything. And I had heard of doing an IV drug. I didn't know about it beforehand with the other 2. And these contractions were resembling what I had with Taylor. We called them spike contractions because there was no rest in between. Like I would have a contraction, it would come down a little bit, and then I would have another one. I mean, and my body literally could not rest. And I was so just overwhelmed and scared, especially considering, I'm like remembering what happened with Taylor. And I was like, I just don't think I can do this. So I asked for the IV drug, and that is the first time that I had it, with any of my babies. And it really did help me. And they said, it only lasts an hour. It wears off at an hour. And sure enough, at the hour mark, like it was time to have the baby. And I was so overwhelmed and just like, I want more. Like I didn't want it to wear off. And they were like, we don't have time for that. You're having this baby. So during this time, my best friend came up and my mom came up to the hospital. We had another friend come and sit with Taylor and Addison. And they came in, so like there are seats on this side of the room, hospital beds here. So they walked across and they're sitting on this side of the room. And whenever it was just time to have the baby, it just happened so fast. They were like, okay, all right, just doing everything that they need to do. It's time to push. And now after the fact, like days later, my best friend and my mom are telling me this. We both just kind of looked at each other like, because they weren't planned to be in the room. But they were like, well, do we move? Do we leave? Or do we stay? Like they didn't know what to do. I honestly had no clue what they were doing or that they stayed or anything like that. So anyways, they ended up staying. And Peyton came really quickly, like once it was time. And that's kind of like the way that all my babies have been. But once it was time to push, it was just several pushes and she was here. And she was actually, at the time, our smallest baby. She was 6 pounds. She's 6 pounds, 9 ounces. Yeah, she was 6 pounds, 9 ounces. And the nurses were wrapping her up and, she was so tiny. They were like, well, just aren't you a little peanut? And it just stuck. We called her Peanut for the longest time until she was old enough to say, stop calling me Peanut. Which we kind of do still some. But anyways, so that is Peyton Grace and how she came. So really, her labor was very intense. As soon as she was born, and I think they were, sorry, I'm closing my eyes to remember. You're cleaning her up and all that. I just remember going, I didn't completely pass out, but I was just like, and then I was able to like come back to, and I don't know, and they just said it was the surge of probably the medication and the fact that her labor was so intense. And she was born at 10:27 at night. So that's a pretty fast labor. It will just say if it started at 4 o'clock, and then to be born at 10:30. at night, excuse me. Anyways, it was, you know, just pretty intense and rushed and forceful, and she was here. But she has been just such a joy ever since. She was a very, very good baby. Sorry, my kids are making weird noise. Very, very sweet, very content, and she has just blessed us every day. So that is the story of Peyton Grace joining our family.